Okay, Sharp from Saskatchewan. Righto. Another week. More BS. We're getting used to it. Yeah. Wow, where to start? We got, there's Lynn, Hitchcock, Texas. Let's see. Excuse me, I can just to, I'm going to just give you a local issue here that was sent to me yesterday. I wasn't aware of it. This is how our local police force is handling things. It says, Fredericton Police error collapses 3 murder cases. Charges stayed against 5 people. So they managed to skate on murder charges because of police incompetence. An error by Fredericton Police caused 3 murder cases to collapse Friday as the Crown, where am I here? As the Crown stayed charges against 5 people. Crown prosecutor Jeremy Erickson sought the stays for charges against Erica Leanne Blythe, Joshua John McIsaac, Devin Mark Hillhood, Matthew David LeBlanc, and Travis James Snowsell on Friday during an appearance in the Burton court. Blythe and McIsaac had been charged with first-degree murder, accused of killing Brandon Donnellan, 27 years old, of Minto. Donnellan's body was found in a wooded area between Minto and Chipman on March 31st, 2022, after being reported missing 2 months earlier. Hood and LeBlanc were to be tried separately on first-degree murder charges alleging they killed Donnellan. Snowsell and McIsaac were charged with second-degree murder in the death of Corey Christopher Markey. Markey, 41, was shot in Fredericton's north side on December 21st, 2021 and died 8 days later. Staying the charges means none of the 5 will stand trial on the allegations. Erickson offered no specifics when addressing Justice Richard Petrie, beyond saying that the province's Attorney General was exercising its authority to seek a stay. But defense lawyer Nathan Gorham told the judge that the development was the result of an insurmountable evidentiary issue with a police agency involved in one of the murder investigations. Moments after the charges were stayed, ending the cases, the Fredericton Police Force issued a statement about the development. The reason for the stay of proceedings is the result of an insurmountable evidentiary issue linked directly to an error initiated, discovered, and subsequently reported to the Crown by the Fredericton Police Force, Chief Gary Forward said in the statement. Our error has further detrimentally impacted on some major crime investigation by a partner agency. The nature of the error was not disclosed. The partner agency would be the RCMP. Lawyers for the accused told reporters it was an unprecedented development. So the family members weren't too happy about that. And they're actually being very tight-lipped about the issue, how they released these 5 individuals on first-degree murder and second-degree murder charges. Yeah. Anyways, that's local news. Just a little display of incompetence from the police. But, well, if they'd have maybe posted bad memes on the internet, they'd be in jail by now. Just like they did in Germany. There's, this seems to be happening lots now, a lot of places. It's coming here too. Bill C-63. It says, Germany's speech crime raids are a chilling sign of things to come. Yeah. This is from June 25th, just a few days ago. At around 6 a.m. in the morning, hundreds of people across Germany awoke to police officers at their door. Their only crime is to have openly made critical or offensive comments on the internet, many about specific politicians. How dare they? This is not a scene from the Third Reich or the German Democratic Republic, but from the Federal Republic in the 21st century. Officers from the Federal Criminal Police Office, the BKA, intend to make approximately 170 house visits today to investigate, quote, hateful or insulting comments made online. You can't insult the politicians anymore, folks. That's what they're pushing for us here, too. Fortunately, in the U.S., Trump put the brakes on that, which is amazing since he gets more hate than any other politician I've ever seen. Suspects have had their tablets, laptops, and phones confiscated and their homes searched. This operation has been taking place annually for several years now to enforce paragraph 188 of the German Criminal Code. This was amended in 2021 to make it a criminal offense to insult a political figure, punishable by a maximum sentence of 3 years in prison. According to the BKA, there were 10,732 crimes related to online hate speech last year. That's an increase of roughly 34% since 2023. I can't imagine why they hate the politicians so much. Maybe because they're arresting people. Compared to 2021, the numbers have quadrupled. Naturally, the vast majority of these posts being targeted by police come from the right wing of the political spectrum. Well, of course. That's who they're picking on. The BKA also encourages citizens to support the police in combating so-called hate crimes. Anyone who encounters hate speech online or becomes a victim of hate speech should should report it to the local police. Report hate posts to social network providers and request them to delete criminal content, the Federal Criminal Police Office states. When it shies away from doing anything but its violent crime problem, the German state is not taking offensive memes or crude insults lightly. North Rhine-Westphalia's Interior Minister, Christian Democrat Herbert Reul, warned digital arsonists must not be able to hide behind their phones or computers. Anyone who thinks anything is allowed on social media is seriously mistaken. Reul also complained that people have forgotten the difference between hate and opinion. This hardline approach is not new. German authorities have been rapidly ramping up their enforcement of speech laws in recent years, likely out of fear of a growing right-wing backlash. Last year, the BKA conducted similar early warning raids against those accused of posting misogynist content online. Earlier this year, CBS documented how officers raided the apartment of one man in northwest Germany accused of posting a racist meme. As part of the report, CBS spoke to German state prosecutors who explained that not only is insulting someone publicly against the law, but could also be punished more severely when done online. Apparently, according to the experts, even reposting an insult or false information online is against the law. Even off-color humor can be treated as a criminal offense in Germany. Just yesterday, a pensioner was convicted for posting satirical images involving Nazi imagery. Stefan Niehoff, a 64-year-old former Bundeswehr sergeant, was initially hauled before a court last year for calling then Economy Minister Robert Habeck a professional idiot. This case was fortunately dropped, but he has since been slapped with an €825 fine for sharing images on X that the judge failed to find sufficiently satirical. These weren't satirical enough for the judge, I guess, so we'll just whack you with an €825 fine for your bad sense of humor. Under German law, it is illegal to use the old German Army era imagery unless it is decided to be clearly critical. Germany's censorship regime is so brazen it almost beggars belief, but it is far from an isolated or even the worst example of a free speech crackdown in Europe. Similarly, in the UK, the situation has become almost comically authoritarian in recent years and has only deteriorated under the rule of Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Recently, we have seen a spate of attacks on free speech. In May this year, it was reported that back in 2023, the British Thought Police had paid a visit to the home of Julian Folks, a retired police officer himself. In body cam footage released last month, officers can be seen searching Folks' house, rummaging through his wife's underwear drawer. That seems to be their favorite attraction. Just like with Mar-a-Lago, they had right for the wife's underwear drawer. These people are weird. And inspecting newspaper clippings about his daughter's funeral and her death in a tragic road accident. They're also morbid, aren't they? They also leafed through his bookshelf, which contained tomes such as Douglas Murray's The War on the West. One policeman can be heard tutting over his very Brexity book collection. Yeah, you shouldn't have those books. Maybe they'll start burning them too, folks. Folks was also handcuffed by 6 officers. Locked in a cell and interrogated for 8 hours. Where did you get the books? Where did you get the books? To make matters even more absurd, the reason he was investigated in the first place was because he had posted in a concerned manner online about the rise of anti-Semitism in the UK. Oh, shouldn't have done that. Thankfully, Folks did eventually receive an apology from Kent Police. Might have been a lawsuit there coming down, as well as compensation of £20,000 for the ordeal. I'm thinking there might have been a lawsuit in the works. But others have been much less fortunate. Perhaps the most notorious case of policing language in the UK recently is the arrest and conviction of Lucy Connolly. That's a terrible case, that one. The childminder and wife of a Conservative councillor in Northampton was sentenced to 2 years and 7 months in prison because of a tweet she made in the aftermath of Axel Budakabana's slaying of 3 little girls last summer. Connolly, whose own son died 14 years ago, called for mass deportation now and said that people could set fire to all the asylum hotels for all I care. Despite the post only being live for a matter of hours before she deleted it, this was deemed incitement worthy of a more than 2-year prison sentence. She has since been denied early release to be with her ill husband and 12-year-old daughter. These cases are part of a sprawling, exhausting pattern. In February, a grandmother was visited by police after she made posts on Facebook criticizing Labour politicians involved in a WhatsApp messaging scandal. Police also began investigating the politicians in question, but concluded no action could be taken. A month later, 2 parents were arrested by 6 uniformed officers and held in a police station for 8 hours because they had complained about their child's school in a WhatsApp group. Last November, Alison Pearson, a journalist for The Telegraph, had a knock at the door because of a post she made and swiftly deleted a year before, misidentifying supporters of a Pakistani political party in Manchester as supporters of Hamas. Pearson was invited to attend a voluntary police interview, which she declined, and no further action was taken. Smart move. Essex police have since refused to apologize for the incident and even praised their officers for their valiant attempt to maintain public confidence. They're so brave. In the UK, you don't even need to actually commit a crime in order to be treated like a criminal. The baffling existence of non-crime hate incidents, NCHIs, mean that anything vaguely upsetting offensive or controversial, said online or otherwise, can see your name end up on a police database without you even knowing about it. Potential offenses have included a 9-year-old child calling a classmate a retard, beeping your horn too loudly, a dog pooping on someone's lawn in a racist way. How did they get a dog taking a crap on somebody's lawn is in a racist way, or being given a bad haircut? Well, I'll have to talk to my barber because I've got a couple of those. The Free Speech Union estimates that roughly 65 people every day are recorded as having committed an NCHI. Around 30 people are thought to be arrested daily for what they say online. It has become frighteningly commonplace for people to receive a knock at the door over memes or even private messages, being questioned by the police or having their details put into databases that could damage the rest of their lives. What we are witnessing in both Germany and the UK is the steady normalization of censorship, of the state deciding which opinions are acceptable and which must be punished. Insults, satire, criticism of the government, and even poorly worded jokes are being treated as a serious crime, while violent offenders continue to roam free. We are quickly re-entering an era where expressing the wrong opinion could ruin your life or even put you behind bars. This is well and truly the age of thought crimes. Well, I never thought I'd see the day where telling a bad joke would get you in prison, but I guess that's the way the British and the Germans have it, and I'm pretty sure, I'm thinking Carney would kind of like the same thing here in Canada. You know what I mean? Wink, wink. Trudeau wanted it. So he just passed the reins on to Carney. Pick up where he left off. And now we're left to deal with it. Now, speaking of which, it's not like we're the only ones that just the average citizen is going to be punished. No, doesn't matter. Your position, your title, if you're on the hit list, if they don't like you, they don't like your personality, don't like how you talk, well, you're enemy number one, right? Here's a prime example. This just came out today. This is pretty new. And there it is. Fatwa calling for Muslims to assassinate President Trump, issued by the Iranian Ayatollah. Iranian Shiite Grand Ayatollah Makrim Shirazi, 98. Yeah, he wants to get this done before he kicks off. Issued a fatwa calling on Muslims worldwide to assassinate President Donald Trump, as well as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The semi-official Iranian news outlet, Mirror News Agency, reported on its English language site on Sunday, the Grand Ayatollah Makrim Shirazi has issued a fatwa in which he declares anyone who threatens leader and Shia Marja to be the enemy of God. I don't think that's God. I think that's the other fella who has to be fought against according to Islamic teachings. After threats were made by the criminal, they call him a criminal, American president, Trump's not going to like this, and the leaders of the child-killing Zionist regime against the leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, and the senior Shiite clerics known as Marja, a group of believers submitted a request to His Eminence, Grand Ayatollah Makrim Shirazi, regarding the duties of Muslims in response to such threats. Grand Ayatollah Makrim responds to the question put forward by his followers is as follows. Misspelled it. Any person or regime that threatens the leader of Marja, may God forbid, or may Satan forbid, is considered an enemy of Satan. I'm just going to replace it for the proper name. Grand Ayatollah Makarem said in his fatwa, which is a response to the question to him, the senior Iranian Shia Marja added that any cooperation or support for that enemy by Muslims or Islamic states is haram, or forbidden. It is necessary for all Muslims around the world to make these enemies regret their words and mistakes. Just a little paragraph there just saying what this clown is, his position. It is clear that threatening the leader of the Islamic world, as well as the esteemed sources of emulation, is a war against Islam. According to the Quranic verse, indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against God and his messenger, this act carries a severe punishment, strengthening the front of Muslims and the unity of Islamic ranks and an obligation to consider it haram, forbidden, to remain silent in the face of such threats. I might get a fatwa against me about calling their God Satan. It is necessary for Muslims around the world to strongly condemn these threats and take appropriate and united action. May God preserve the Islamic community from the evil of enemies under the protection of the Imam of the age. May God hasten his reappearance and reward for the righteous defenders. And they're probably heading off to make their you know what I mean, little hand things, whatever they got to throw at somebody to try to take them out. Anyways, it goes on. Iran analyst Khosrow Isfahani warned that this fatwa is similar to the one against author Salman Rushdie that has provoked several attempts on his life, including a 2022 stabbing attack at Chautauqua, New York. I don't know how to pronounce that one. In that gravely wounded Rushdie and left him blind in one eye. This is a fatwa, a religious edict, signed and sealed by a Grand Ayatollah responding to an Estefa formal query directly naming POTUS Trump. These people are complete nutbars. And 2, in principle, similar to murder fatwa against Salman Rushdie. And 3, unlike the non-existent fatwa against nukes, this one is real. Yeah, fatwa against nukes. I'll tell you, they're idiots. Dangerous idiots. Anyways, that is that. It's all fine until somebody gets hurt. And they're going to get hurt. I can guarantee you that. Oh, so you want to threaten the President of the United States. It's not going to work out too good for you. Man, they're stupid. They really think they're special. They're special people. Well, this one here kind of explains it. Like, this is what we have. Call me in our country. Let's see if I can get this right. Bear with me one second. I got to switch the audio over.
And Canada is a white supremacist, colonial, racist project, as is Israel, as is the state of Israel. So I don't even consider myself to be a Canadian because this is indigenous land and this land is occupied. So the people who are here, whether they are settlers, we firstly need to educate ourselves about what has happened on this land and what is continuously happening in order for us to be able to understand what our government or this government is doing on abroad and on overseas. And Canada is a
So, there you go. They don't want to be Canadians. They just want to come in here and stir up trouble. So, it's a wonder we don't have much use for some of these people. I'm not saying they're all like that, but you see them out on the streets with the flags and the signs and complaining and whining and making threats against the citizens of Canada and citizens of other countries. And they're free to just run around and mouth off whatever they want to say, and the government's just fine with that. And don't worry, folks. There's more coming where they came from. So, I was looking at the numbers today. I haven't done it for a while. Asylum claims by year 2025. New Brunswick got eight new asylum claimants. Quebec got 329. These are in the first 4 months. Ontario got picked up 9. Manitoba gained 35. Saskatchewan got 1. Alberta picked up 11. British Columbia 151, and RCMP seemed to have discovered, well, I guess that's a total by the RCMP, 544, a little over 100 a month. But by the airports, looks like Newfoundland, PI, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick didn't get any coming in by plane, but Quebec picked up 22,290, and Ontario grabbed 1,895 new souls in their province. Manitoba was less than 5, that's why they put these funny little lines in there. Saskatchewan was 0, Alberta 85, British Columbia picked up 125. So coming in by air, a total of 4,400. And coming in by land, well, it looks like New Brunswick got 30. Come in, they must have come in from the state of Maine, I would say, unless they wandered down from Quebec. It's hard to say. Quebec, they grabbed 5,585 new souls come in claiming asylum, and Ontario got 1,460, and Manitoba got 55. Saskatchewan got 10 by land. Alberta 95, BC 300. Territories don't get any. They don't make it that far north. So a total of 7,540. And, let's see, Marine, well, they don't bother coming by boat. I guess they don't like that trip. All ports of entry, air, land, and marine. I'll just go down to the total. 11,945. And our inland offices, they got a whopping 240. Those are people that are already here, decided to go into the office and say, hey, look, I'm here, I'm claiming asylum. Canadian Border Services Agency, so far this year, these are the ones processed. 4,400 by air, 7,540 by land. All ports 11,945. Total CBSA land, air, marine, port of entry, and inland offices 12,185. And then the asylum claims by IRCC, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship, is a total of 27,260. This is in 4 months. Total asylum claimants processed by CBSA and IRCC up until April is a total of 39,445. Just asylum claims, folks, just asylum claims. So, we do have the of course, the immigration. But, well, hey, Carney said that, he's going to cut back on immigration. Trudeau said they were going to cut back on immigration. You know, it must be a lie. See, anything that passed over their lips is a lie. What did they lie about? Numbers, I guess. Financial Post, June 6, 2025, fairly recent. Post haste, Canada's unemployment rate could reach 7.5% on still strong immigration, says economist. I tend to believe the economist and not the politician. Canada's unemployment rate could hit 7.5% as more newcomers are admitted to the country than expected after the government made massive cuts last year to its immigrant targets, says a new report. Visa approvals for temporary residents have picked up, which suggests that rather than contracting as the government previously outlined, the population will continue to grow this year. Harry Chambers, an assistant economist at Capital Economics Limited, said in a note, this will keep upward pressure on labor force growth, and we now expect the unemployment rate to peak at 7.5% rather than 7%. It rose to 7% in May from 6.9% in April. So it's jumping up every month. There were still enough new arrivals to Canada in May to help push up the jobless rate, even though population growth has slowed. Royce Mendez, managing director and head of macro strategy at Desjardins Capital Markets, said in a note, the rise in the number of newcomers is the opposite of what former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau touted after his government cut its targets for temporary foreign workers, students, and permanent residents. Well, I'm just gobsmacked that Trudeau didn't tell us the truth. We're going to significantly reduce the number of immigrants coming to Canada for the next 2 years. This is temporary to pause our population growth and let our economy catch up, Trudeau said in a post on X, after announcing last year that 21% fewer permanent residents would be allowed into the country. A bald-faced lie. However, temporary resident visa approvals have increased and are on pace to overshoot the government's target. Annualized population growth slowed to 1% in the fourth quarter of 2024 from a peak of 3.6% the year before. For 2025, the Trudeau government said Canada's population would fall by 50,000. As a result, the population was expected to shrink by 0.2% in both 2025 and 2026, dramatically reversing annual growth of almost 3% for the past 2 years. Nonetheless, there is reason to doubt that the government will fully meet its targets, Chambers said, adding Capital Economics expects the population will grow by at least 200,000 this year and next. That seems like a low number to me. Scotiabank Economics, which is tracking population and changes in permanent and temporary residents to see if government targets are met, said Canada's population aged 15 and up grew 1.9% in April, 1.8% in March, seasonally adjusted rate. Positive monthly growth trend, still close to 2% as we approach the halfway point of 2025, seriously starts to erode the government's ambitions and always unlikely plan of shrinking the overall population this year. Chambers said another reason to doubt Ottawa's immigration targets will hold is the uncertainty about how many people who are supposed to leave Canada after their permits expire actually do so. They estimate visa holders leave the country within 120 days after their permits expire. In reality, many stay longer. Some transition to permanent residency, others stay under temporary extensions. So, Anyways, number of people looking for work could be much higher than the near zero rate implied by the government's targets. We're going to hit a 7.5%. I think we're going to go higher than 7.5%, but hey, that's just me. I hate to be a pessimist, but we are dealing with the government, right? So, I can almost guarantee it's all BS. So, yeah, Financial Post is a little more on target than that. Moving on, there's this is the from Zero Hedge. It's on that digital tax that has really got Trump ticked right off, and that's a good thing. I want to see Carney spanked hard by Trump. Put it to him, Trump. Maybe we can get him out. I said 6 months to a year. I think 1 year Carney's going to be gone. How Canada's digital tax exposes Brussels' globalist playbook. Trump retaliation. Cards are on the table. It's a heated phase of trade talks with the U.S. Canada is introducing digital tax that will burden American tech giants with billions in costs. In response, President Trump broke off talks with Ottawa and announced new tariffs. Among poker players, you know the coldly calculating player. He calculates probability, weighs risks, and plays his hand with sober precision. Sitting beside him is the gambler, impulsive but not reckless. He acts spectacularly, yet within a strategic framework he masters with virtuosity. Now imagine a pathological exception alongside these archetypes, a player who reveals his cards before the round even begins, only to go all in immediately after. Canada's Prime Minister Carney falls into that category. He's a complete stooge. Former governor of the Bank of England, committed globalist and climate crusader, following the spectacular failure of Justin Trudeau, the new enforcer of the European agenda in North America, got himself entangled in a geopolitical game of va-bank with the announcement of a digital penalty tax on foreign tech companies. Yeah, that was a can of worms there. The tax is set to take effect on July 1st, retro to January 1st, 2022. Will squeeze foreign tech firms with over 20 million Canadian dollars in revenue at a rate of 3%. Ottawa is calling for payment, aiming its arrow at the heart of America's economic powerhouse, Silicon Valley. U.S. giants like Apple, Meta, and X face penalty payments exceeding $2 billion US. I'm sure they all got something to say about that. Come and get it. And in front, at the worst possible time, there was the escalation planned, staged by a prime minister playing a weak hand from a position of weakness. Much like in Germany, productivity and per capita income have declined since the devastating lockdowns. The EU-inspired agenda of climate regulation, migration chaos, and a socialist redistribution state is cutting a swath of economic paralysis through society. I think it's a little more darker than socialism. Unfortunately, we're bearing the brunt of it here now. Carney proves to be the ideal candidate for that globalist elite steering resource-rich Canada into the next phase of its decline. In negotiations with Donald Trump, he acts entirely in the style of Brussels' negotiating school, making maximal demands, refusing any form of compromise, and publicly prioritizing ideological principles over a rational negotiation path. The ship is sinking. He's taken us down. But this time, the script seems to call for a turning point. The response from Washington was swift and decidedly blunt. Trump called Canada's political leadership a copy of the EU in reaction to Carney's digital tax, warning that new U.S. tariffs will soon follow. Indeed, Ottawa is faithfully following Brussels' line. Censorship laws, regulation of media platforms, fiscal grabs on U.S. companies, all aimed at breaking American dominance in the digital sphere. As a side benefit, easing the overstretched state budget a bit. What drives the Prime Minister at this stage of trade talks to escalate to the maximum level becomes clear if one follows Trump's hinted line and understands Canada as a resource-rich EU satellite. Carney is intimately familiar only with the scorched earth strategy. Thus, Trump's uncompromising response sends an unmistakable signal to Brussels. The era of fair-weather diplomacy is over. You will have to move. You know, Carney just loves Europe. Just hates Canada and the U.S. As European, well, we're just a money bag for Carney to dig through. That's all that is. As Europeans who claim free self-determination and individual sovereignty, we should be thankful to Donald Trump, as at the start of the trade dispute with the EU, he shines a glaring spotlight on Ottawa's protectionism in Canada's case. The public needs more evidence of Brussels' often cleverly disguised protectionism and its Canadian branch office. Trump explicitly mentioned in his reply to Carney the tariff barrier of up to 400% Canada long imposed against American agriculture well before the tariff dispute. Lies, moralizing manipulation of apodictic opinion, and cold-blooded protectionism. That most clearly describes the Brussels line. They love their lies, don't they? In public discourse, Europe always portrays itself as a defender of free trade, as a liberal and open order power. That was a full pub. Open order power. Behind the scenes, however, they overwhelm non-European competitors with a web of harmonization duties, climate regulations, and rule books that kill fair competition in the cradle. A free trade with built-in entry barriers and a minefield to deter newcomers. Technically well-packaged and morally justified, economically devastating. Trump's hard line on Brussels and Canada also makes him an enlightener of geopolitical reality. It is to be expected that in the trade dispute with Brussels, we will encounter more hitherto undisclosed instruments from the European protectionism toolbox. As said, the cards are now on the table. Yeah. And Trump is probably just saying, here's my cards. Let's see yours. I guess they should just fold their cards and start playing ball. It'd be the proper thing to do. We'll see how that turns out. And then, now the NDP, the NDP are acting up. All 7 of them. I think that's what they got, 7. The problem is, you got to throw in one, the breakfast martini guzzler, Green, Elizabeth May, who will join with them in probably a hangover frame of mind. And Davies, he's come up with this ingenious or whatever goofy idea, and I'm afraid that Carney and the Liberals will just jump right on it. They'll say, wow, I can't believe he's doing this. This is going to be great. So, let's see if I can bring this up. It's just a minute and a half, this video. Don Davies. Bill C-214. It's a minute and 18 seconds. See what you get out of this mess. What he wants to do to us.
I'm honored to rise today to introduce the National Renewable Energy Strategy Act. I thank my colleague from Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie for seconding this legislation and all his work to protect our environment. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has been clear that we must cut global greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050 to avert catastrophic global climate change. The time for action is now. That means implementing solutions for clean energy and transitioning away from fossil fuels. While we do this, we must ensure that workers are not left behind. Jobs in Canada's clean energy sector are projected to grow by nearly 50% by 2030, and the industry's GDP contribution is on track to reach $100 billion by the end of this decade. This legislation would accelerate our transition to a clean energy future by requiring that the Minister of Natural Resources develop and implement a national strategy to ensure 100% of electricity generated in Canada comes from renewable energy sources by 2030. I call on all parliamentarians to support this vital initiative for our country and for our planet.
So, I don't know if you caught that. That clown wants 100% or power 100% from renewables in 5 years. The scary part is with the NDP, Liberals with NDP support, and the Green is enough to get it passed. They and you know they'll vote for it because the NDP is putting it forward, and it's right up Carney's line of destruction that he's waging against us. Elizabeth May, she'll just think, oh, that's just great. Yeah, we can do it all with windmills and solar panels and maybe some, well, nuclear plants, which they're going to build a whole bunch in 5 years. People are idiots. So that, my friends, is what we are facing now, and that could very easily pass. I can't see it not passing, actually. So I don't know why they come up with this. They're oblivious. These are the people that the people that are pushing this, that flew to Jeff Bezos' wedding in Venice with Lauren Sanchez, a 3-day wedding extravaganza they went to. Leonardo DiCaprio, Mick Jagger, Orlando Bloom, and his ex-fiancée Katy Perry. It's a floating city. Mega wealthy stars, many of whom their own private jets, landed at Marco Polo Airport in the days leading up to the $50 million bash. Kim Kardashian spent years fighting climate change. Arrived in her $65 million Gulfstream G650. Oprah Winfrey, who once said the future of life as we know it depends on how we combat climate change, landed in her G700 in Venice earlier this week. Or last week, Sir Elton John, who owns an apartment in Venice, he's going to perform, as so is Lady Gaga. Harry Emanuel, he once lectured President Donald Trump about the dangers of climate change. He was also there, reportedly arriving at Global 6000, owned by Emmanuel's firm, Endeavor Group Holdings. They're all hypocrites. Guest list comes to more than 200, including Jordan's Queen Rania, Tom Brady, Ivanka Trump, Usher, and fashion designer Spencer Antle. There were a reported 100 or more private jets landing in town for the festivities. So they don't mind burning the jets up. Maybe they're putting a few trails out behind their jets as they're flying along to try to get rid of that blue sky that they're all flying around in. Speaking of which, I found this very enlightening, very informing, this video I caught. And it was a lady with a greenhouse. Now, the greenhouse was all opened up to the air. It was wide open. She's in Wales, so she was using it just to start the plants in, right, for the season, and opens it all up, and then it's just like an outdoor garden. She had some mutated tomatoes. She'd never seen this happen before. Her plants were not doing well. They're stunted. Well, I'm thinking, hey, that's what's happening to me. That's what's happening to my friend. My neighbor, too, somewhat. And then I got reading down through the comments. Like, I had posted a comment there that, yeah, it's the same here in Canada, and I thought it was the weather, but there's been a lot of stuff being sprayed in the skies. Well, then I hit the comment section. This is worldwide. It's not just here and there. People from all over the United States, Europe, across Canada were commenting. There was like 870 comments or something like that. Everybody's saying the same thing. And they were saying, yeah, I haven't seen any bees around either, really. And one person had said, yeah, the birds are in my garden trying to find something to eat. There's no bugs to eat. I've never seen that happen before. And other people were saying, yeah, by this time of year, I'm usually having to stop to clean the bugs off my windshield after being on the highway for an hour. And there's a few people said that, and they said there's no bugs, there's no insects. So it certainly sounds like it's finally taking effect. So with whatever they've been doing, and it's in the soil, and yeah, not good. How long does it take for tomatoes to grow? Well, mine are only about 6 inches taller when I put them in. I put them in, they were a foot tall. Now they're about 1.5 feet. They should have been about 3 or 4 feet by now. My pepper plants, they haven't grown at all. They're just staying there dormant. They're not dying, they're not growing, they're just staying right there. So there's something afoot, my friends. Carrots. Couldn't get the carrots to grow. I don't know what was going on. Now my neighbor, she said the same thing. She said, I don't know. And then she replanted some, and then the first ones came through. It took like a month for hers to come through, and then a few days later mine started to come through, and a friend of mine, I told him my carrots finally started. He was getting ready to dig his row up and plant something else, and I said, he was a week or two behind me. I said, no, give it a chance. So Jude Smith, marijuana plant's doing great. Well, somebody said mint plants are doing good, and I noticed my mint is doing good. I have a Korean licorice mint plant. It's non-invasive, and it's really tall and really healthy, but nothing else. Lawrence planted yours the same as me and same results, eh? You see, it's not the weather, because we don't have the same weather all around the world. So, but we have the same skies. Marie, your tomato flowers are drying. A few fruit are pale green and yellowish. This isn't good. I've got one hydro unit indoor, and I'm going to pick up another one. I'm going to have to grow indoors by the looks of things. So it seems, see, even folks on here are saying the same thing. Southern Ontario, great growing area. No, they're same issues. And then you see the ones online with the comments saying, oh, all the idiots are on here with talking about those chemtrails. It's just all it is contrails. And yeah, they just happen to white out the whole sky now. They never did before, but now they do for some reason. And it's just water vapor, nothing to see here, folks. These aren't people that are part of the program. These are just leftist morons that can't see past their nose. And they're very happy to call everybody else stupid. No, you want to see stupid, look in the mirror. And stupid's looking right back at you. I know the type. I pay attention. I know what's going on. That's not, none of that's happening. You guys are all just crazy. And right, okay. Canadian National, your garden's slow this year too. Too much rain. That's what I thought at first. It was too much rain, but I don't know. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Watermelons. It's kind of hard to get too much water onto watermelons. They really drink a lot of water. And they're stunted. They're just not growing. Things like cucumbers. My cucumbers haven't come through yet. That's really slow. They should at least sprout. You don't really need, you really don't need sun to make them sprout, eh? So, I don't know. It's just not looking good. Vivo, no, you all are in Canada. Please pray for firefighters in Couleur d'Alene, Idaho. I didn't know there's anything going on there. So apparently it's on fire. Vivo Cristo Ray. I'll tell you a quick little story about Idaho. The guy I worked with, Kenny, we called him Cousin Kenny. Kenny wasn't the brightest guy in the crew. Well, actually, he wasn't bright at all. But he was in Idaho, and it was I think it was Amish. Yeah, it was the Amish farm that he was on. He was he was hooked up with one of the Amish girls. I don't know if he was married. I think he was, yeah. He was married to an Amish girl. And they had dikes for water reservoirs. And Kenny got the tractor stuck on the dike. And he kept trying to get the tractor out. Eventually he broke the dike and flooded out all the crops. And they ran him out of the Amish ran him out of the community. That's my story about Idaho. Something you should never forget. And that was Kenny that told us that story sitting down at lunch. Dino. Okanagan, very little bugs, and we're in the boonies. Yeah. Well, what's this here? Mr. Magoo driving across Canada, just about no bug spotter on the windshield. Lots of bugs in north central BC. Shot while responding appears to have been an intentionally set brush fire near Coeur d'Alene, northern Idaho. The police are said to currently be in a firefight with one or more suspects shooting down. That's terrible. Some people are saying sleeper cells. Yeah, it could be. Fire is used as a weapon lots of times, especially, well, in lots of ways, I guess. They say the sleeper cells are being activated. It's an ambush, very scary. So they're shooting at the firefighters. Yeah, that is bad. You don't hear it coming. They're out there fighting the fire, the smoke and the flames and bullets whizzing, yeah. Not good. The North America's in a lot of trouble. We've got, well, we had 700 IRGC here, brought in by, under the Trudeau government, allowed in. I'm not going to say brought in, but allowed in. Now the military high rankers in the IRGC are slipping into Canada. And I'm sure they got their sights set on the U.S. I'd like to see the U.S. tighten that northern border up because it's just too convenient for them. I know their hands are full at the southern border, but you can't, the U.S. can't turn their backs on the northern border. Excuse me for 1 sec here. I have a, got in my throat. Yeah, that's better. So, yeah. Okay, so we're flooded with the IRGC. We're flooded with people that don't like our country. They say that we're just a bunch of settlers and we don't belong here. And why do they want to be here so bad? If they think that it's so bad, how come they want to be here? Aren't they settlers? They're just hypocrites. Or they just don't like us. I noticed, I was kind of wondering what was going on when I was at the store the other day, the Home Depot. And it was a Muslim woman. There's a few Muslim women that are working cash or working one at the door on Costco and places, and I see them, they look at me. A funny look. I'm like, what the hell are they looking at me for? Then I realized I got a silver belt buckle with a cross on it in the middle of it. It's all silver from Mexico. It's a big belt buckle, of course, right? A big silver cross. They see me coming. Oh, here comes one of those Christian types. What am I going to do? I gotta serve them. Or they could just go home. So, it always was a Christian country, even though they burned over 200 churches. So, Florida's new detention site is now fully enclosed by, I seen that gator-infested waters. And it opens in 72 hours. Over 5,000 illegals be held there. No fences needed when nature handles security. I seen that. That's funny. That's ingenious. And they're going to be hungry, too. Alligator Alcatraz. You bet they're going to be hungry. So while the ones are locked in there, they can look out and see those eyes sticking out of the water, right? Yeah. Well, it's cheap. You don't have to pay for security. So let nature to take its course. Phil Quiznos here had a Muzz lady working her bad service. She went to the bathroom, wiped my table with a toilet rag. That a girl. Yeah, well, we know they have a different way of thinking when it comes to sanitation. Paul, and massive pythons. That's right, too. I forgot about the pythons. That's your choice. Gators or the snakes? Damn, I think go back home where there's no racism. That's right. Yeah. No, they're here to, well, they're in the government. Liberal Party is just lots in the Liberal Party. They're here for one reason. It's take over by attrition, by numbers. Once their numbers get up enough. Phil, I don't go to Quiznos anymore. I don't go to any of those places anymore. I cook it all myself. But it's all part of the game, part of the plan, the agenda. I hope you folks got a chance to catch that documentary, The Agenda. Dino, riddle me this. If we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? Got my friend thinking on that one. That's right, yeah. Yeah. And I could comment on that, but I'm not going to because it's not nice. It could be arrested for a bad joke. Not quite at that point yet, but we're awful close, I'll tell you. What the heck is going on with my camera? It's a video. Looks like it's changing. I can't tell, but my other monitor looks like it just jumped, like it just came real close, like a close-up. Lawrence, when I lived in Toronto, went to the DMV and waited 2 hours to be served. They refused my application, asked where I can submit a complaint. Kiosk closed to my face. Muslim clerk. Paul, will the Supreme Court of Canada allow provinces to separate? I do not know. That looks like Carney's trying to weasel around that somehow. Oh, Phil, I'm sorry to hear that. Your wife, neighbor, fell on top of her and broke her arm Friday the 13th. In hospital for 9 hours. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened in my video. All of a sudden the camera just seemed to go into a big close-up. I don't know if you guys are seeing that on your monitor. I would assume so. Kind of weird. Phil, Fred sure screwed up summer plans, I guess. Takes a long time to heal up, too. The older you get, the longer it takes. Yeah. Yeah, I think my camera's playing tricks. Neighbor, 300 pounds, 6'6" Swede, 92 years old. Yep. Yep, see it, Fred? Yeah. That's weird, eh? All of a sudden it just jumped. This monitor is slow, but she's tough, but guess who's taking up the slack? Yeah, yeah. I hear you, Phil. But yeah, I was playing with the settings on the camera, and all of a sudden they changed on their own after all this. Oh well, we'll get through it. Something else for me to play with. So yeah, we'll see what this week brings. I'll tell you, I'm not celebrating Canada Day. I'm done. I will not display a Canadian flag. I held the flag high and proud during all the protests, during worldwide cough incident, and was called a racist and a bigot and anti-Canadian and everything else, and all the people that called me that are now flying the Canadian flag so they can pound sand. I know who they are. When I see a Canadian flag, I never seen them before. When I see them now, I know who I'm dealing with. So, Dino, we have F. Kearney flags now. I got one at my off-grid, my bush camp, flying high at the end of the driveway on a nice big high flag pole. So I had to take the Trudeau one down and put the Kearney one up. So, Sharp, you only fly the Saskatchewan flag. Phil, you don't observe Canada Day either. No. There's no country to, what are we going to celebrate? You know, celebrate the destruction of the country? That's what these idiots are that are out there flying the flags. That's what they're celebrating. They don't know it. They're too stupid to realize it, but that's what they're doing. Lawrence, last time you celebrated Canada Day was when you served in the military. Yeah. Well, the military ain't like it used to be. Jiggy Poe, fly the red ensign. Right on. Need gators at the Mexican-USA border too. Have to dig a ditch there. I'd be on board with that. A little cold for the gators there. Might have to heat the water a bit. Phil, you paid too much tax, get treated like crap for it. Yeah, I know. Lynn, nobody's crossing the border in Texas. Right on. Betty, Power used to be called Dominion Day, yeah. Well, our American friends, they got 4th of July to celebrate. They got, everything's going pretty decent there, for all things considered. July 4th, Sharp, we celebrate July 4th. I'm not sure what you mean by that comment, that question. My Canadian maple leaf sideways will be upside down, country in distress. Lawrence Mulroney gutted the combat troops from 60,000 to 30,000. That's who did that, eh? I didn't know that. People, she's in Minnesota. Yeah, married her brother to get into USA from Somalia. I hate the USA. Yeah, married her brother. Yeah. Yeah. That's a real piece of work, that one. You guys get your share of them in your government down there and the Democrats. Just like our liberals here. They walk the same, talk the same. Both the Democrats and liberals. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if Carney calls by-election. I think he's scared to death of Pierre getting back in there. Pretty sure he is. So we'll see how that goes. Chrétien eliminated Vancouver Port Police to protect Paul Martin Cocaine Shipping Corporation 30 years ago. Yeah, they were coming into Montreal too. There, those big freighters. There were Paul Martin's, the hull with cocaine in the hull. Gee, I didn't know anything about that. Paul Martin, no, that's a surprise. It was his son, wasn't it? I believe. Probably both of them. Paul and his son. Paul M., I'm a U.S. citizen residing in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Wow. Got my fireworks for the 4th. Love this channel. Thanks, Paul. Gettysburg, wow. Talk about a lot of history there, man. Holy cow. Yeah, it wouldn't be good for me to have fireworks. You know, I probably end up doing something stupid like shooting them at somebody's Canadian flag. Like, oh, we should design a new flag for like-minded people. They got a new flag for like-minded people. It's the Canadian maple leaf with rainbows on each side. That's where our country's at. So, and people, yeah, you're in Minnesota. U.S. citizen, born and raised in Canada, left in 2001. Good move, man, good move. I can't pull stakes now. I've been here too long. I'm at that point of life that I can't start over. So now I know how. I often wondered how when countries go down and people see it going down, I wonder, why do they stay? Well, I know the reason now. The roots are too deep. There's a certain point in time in life that you just can't pick up and leave and start over. So, gonna ride her out. So, yeah. Finally figured it out. So, yeah, big celebration in the U.S., July 4th. Good for the U.S. Oh, there'll be some nut bars out there protesting the 4th of July, but that's okay. While they're doing that, the real Americans will be having their barbecues and family gatherings and stuff like that. Oh. Americans have always had that stronger patriotism than Canadians. For some reason, Canadians just, I don't know. But then again, when you get prime ministers that, you know, run the country down, Pierre Trudeau and Justin Trudeau and Paul Martin, Chrétien, none of them were really proud Canadians. They were in there to make money and for their ideology, so. Tino wins Grumpy taking us over. Trumpy. Yeah, it'd be nice to have the First and Second Amendments. Nice to have the U.S. Constitution instead of this toilet paper we've got. Phil, the family's all here. Where to go? That's the thing, eh? Well, we got 400 newcomers. The Premier begged Ottawa. She didn't have to beg too hard. We're getting 4,800, but we got 400 coming here right away. They're coming from Nigeria, Haiti, and South America. Now, coming from Haiti, they're heading over to be the northern part of the province because they all, pretty much mostly all French there, and Haitians speak French, so they'll get the Haitians. That leaves Nigerians and South Americans. I expect the Nigerians will be in Fredericton and Moncton and South Americans. They might be spread around too, St. John, southern part of the province here. So, Phil, I hear 800,000 newcomers. Yeah, I was just looking at that earlier before I come on. I seen that too, and then I seen a site from the government of Canada or something like that. I think it was government or government sponsored or something. Oh no, those are fake numbers. Those are fake numbers. Don't pay attention to that. And then they tried to break it down. Well, yeah, it does add up. It's just that they're trying to break it into different groups, and don't matter. A number is a number, and a total is a total. So, got lots of black people newcomers too. Your crime rates are going up. Saturdays are International Day at Walmart. I don't go to Walmart either. It's number one country for immigrants to Canada is India, and then it goes down from there, but I forget the pecking order of the countries, but India is number one. So they're Canada's their choice. Well, I can't really say that because India's got such a huge population. They're going to a lot of countries: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the British Commonwealth countries, and probably in the U.S. too, I'm sure. I think they hit the 7-Elevens. Don't they all work at 7-Elevens in the U.S.? They're all working at Tim Hortons here. I don't go there either. But you know, watermelons from the 6x6 box, they fall in. So, yeah, Phil went to Walmart a week ago. Yep, customers and staff all speaking some Indian dialect. That's the thing now. Yeah, they're not speaking English because English is not a requirement. English or French to come into the country. You don't have to learn either language now. Things have changed over the last 10 years. So they had Len, you worked with a boat person in Vietnam, strange dude. I worked a Vietnamese welder, Lynn. And you know, I don't believe this, but his name was High Low. I laughed. Are you serious? Yeah, High Low. Okay. Yeah, they shifted me to fit for the Vietnamese welder for High Low. He's a Boilermaker welder, and because I refused to do a job and said wasn't safe, so they put me over there, and they put another guy up, and he did it. Anyways, I'm sitting there in the shack with High Low, and High Low's he's got the shield down, he's got his hand out, he's going rod. I looked at him, he wanted me to pass him a welding rod, right? Or give him a rod, and I wouldn't do it. And he lifted his shield up, and he said, "I need rod." I said, "Right there. You have two hands. Get one yourself. I'm going to sit here and pass you rods." Then I heard the voice over above me as the foreman was watching. He said, "How's it going down there?" And I said, "Going pretty good." "How's it going up there?" He said, "Oh, good." I said, "Okay, see you later." And he says, "Yeah, just checking." Two of them both named Sonny in the end. Yeah. So, I hope. Did anybody catch that video that was on? It was on X, I think it was, last couple of days ago, about where the guy was working on up on the top of the pole in a bucket truck, and semi comes around, hits the bucket, whips a bucket around, bends it around upside down. The guy's hanging from his harness upside down. Yeah, I'd say where that driver was from. Yeah, I'm not seeing too many leaving washrooms though, washing hands, fast food workers. Yeah, stay away from those places. People, I heard the No King Day was a giant bust. That's why they're going to try again in June. They're running out of time. July 4th, yeah. Went through a small town, Swastika. Main business is chemical laboratory, Northern Ontario. I've been through Swastika a few times, you know. First time through there, I looked down and went, really? Swastika? Yep. It's a small little town, and it must be along Highway 17 somewheres. No, you're saying it's Northern Ontario. Yeah, it's Northern Ontario. I'm just trying to picture where that is. I think I got a picture of that sign somewheres. There's a lot of strange places across the country. I'm sure the U.S. too. In Canada, strange names. You wonder how they come up with them. Wawa, Ontario. I think that was Swedes that settled that place. I knew a big Swede from there. Trudeau Chinese name is he, she. Asian religious symbol, yeah. Yeah, well that got changed. So, all in all, I do wish everybody a happy Canada Day. Stay away from the idiots. I'm not going to be going to any celebrations because it's going to be all idiots, all lefties, and I'm going to say something, and it won't be politically correct, and somebody's going to say something back, and then I'm going to get nasty and say something they really don't like, and I'm going to ruin their Canada Day, and I don't really want to go do that. So I don't have time for these people. So sent my cousin out to do work for the same one that called me a traitor for shopping at Home Depot. Straightened her out, and then she said something, I forget what she said to him. Something along the same line, but these people are idiots. And where I'm living, the neighborhood, it's full of them. Lawrence, thanks for the great show. No problem. Thanks for joining in there, Lawrence. Always good to see you here. Boy, crowds on Canada Day. Too much pot stink. Yeah, it could be here. I don't know. Tuck, where I was born. Stompin' Tom had a song. Muck Tuck Annie from Tuck to Yuck Tuck. That's going way back. She drove a cat. Looking for land, but prices remain high. Yeah, I know. I don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if it's gonna happen. If they're gonna come down either. Jab made people stupid. Not only were stupid to take it, but I think it messed them up too. After it made them stupider. It's hard to tell. It's a fine line between stupid and stupidest. Especially when there's a whole crowd of them. So, especially Afghanistan stink hash and weed. Yeah, well, that's Trudeau. I don't know what on that issue. I don't know. People aren't going to jail anyways, which is good. Problem is they've made it all these hard drugs that they're all getting into China and bringing that stuff in and taking out the population, the young population of Canada and United States. So Philpott does that too, Fred, yeah. But they're killing off the population. Yeah. How can you have a military when everybody's addicted to, well, not everybody, but a big portion of the population is addicted to the hard stuff? So that's an easy way to destroy a country, right? Hey, it happened to them with the opium wars. So they're turning the tables now, the commies. So, do you know, end times prove me wrong? No, I'm not going to prove you wrong. So, Phil used to be 8% THC, now it's 40, yeah. Well, okay, folks, I guess that'll be it. And it's just, like I say, awesome. Thank you so much for joining in. And great chat going here. It's always good to see you all in the chat there. And didn't notice Faye on here. She must be busy. So, say bye for now, and God bless, and never take the path of least resistance. We got to keep fighting, fighting, fighting if we're going to survive. So, okay. And a happy 4th of July to all our American friends. Have fun. Enjoy your 4th of July celebrations, however you do. Bye for now.